Well, it's a pleasure to be here, and Jack took most of my speech away, and I wanted to say all sorts of good things about you, but he's already done it. So, but I want to say that we hire a lot of people from BCIT, and they're all wonderful. They've helped make our company into the success it is. But we're a little different company than what you might normally see. We're scientists helping scientists, and that's our tagline. And science, as you know, is all about discovering the truth about things. So we're all about truth and honesty. So I say this and meet with all the new employees and say, you know, we just want to do things right. We want to be totally honest, and we want to just be so careful about what we do, because we are making the tools that are going to help people cure cancer and other diseases. So just remember, it's all about the quality of our products. There's not a lot of IP or intellectual property. It's really the quality of our products that are about what make us successful. And I have to say that BCIT students fit into our culture amazingly well. They see themselves not only as scientists helping scientists, but also colleagues helping colleagues. They help each other to make our products the very best that there are in the world. And the result is that our sales are 96% of our products are outside of Canada. So we are servicing the world. So I just wanted to sort of congratulate you on your contributions to StemCell technologies, and to say that I've been asked to come and tell you a little bit about why I started a company that employs so many BCIT grads. Initially, it was all about making money to support our research in the Terry Fox lab, because there's never enough money for doing research, cancer research in particular. But more recently, as Jack mentioned, I've become very passionate about hiring young people who really love science, but can't get jobs in science in Canada and end up going to the United States. We want to keep them here in Canada with great jobs, and that's what the major role, I think, of stem cell technologies now is. To help support our research in the Terry Fox lab initially, though, the lab was produced, we needed erythropoietin. Now, erythropoietin is one of the early hormones that was discovered related to the blood-forming system. And we knew that it was in the urine of people, and we developed a way, we wanted to use it for growing red cell progenitors, which we're studying, we are and still do study the regulation of growth and differentiation of blood-forming stem cells and how they differentiate into red cells, white cells, and platelets, and why they go wrong in leukemia and other cancers of the blood. So we were trying to do these things. We needed this hormone erythropoietin. It was very expensive, and so we decided to collect urine from patients who are very anemic and purify this erythropoietin in our cells, which we did. And so this has been, we made several $1 million by selling this to our colleagues around the world. But the point is that it was very simple to do this, very technical, and exactly the sort of things that we drew on people with your skills to help us do. And I have to say that, of course, urine is probably still one of the most untouched natural resources of Canada that still needs to be exploited fully. So how the problem occurred in 1985, though. Amgen, which is the first large biotech company in the world, they also got a lot of urine, made a lot of erythropoietin, got the protein sequence and then the genomic sequence, and then produced it in bulk. And we feared, of course, that our little market of selling this to our colleagues around the world would disappear. So we started adding it to our media and selling our whole media, which was for growing red cell and granulocyte progenitors in culture. And of course, this erythropoietin that we produced gave beautiful red cell colonies. So my first marketing foray was to call this Ready Mix. So it was red, and it was sort of this goo that was sort of like Ready Mix cement. And so I advertised in the journal Blood, and suddenly sales shot up. And over the next several years, this media became the gold standard for the world in people who wanted to measure blood-forming stem cells anywhere, and allowed them to compare their results from one lab to the next. Now, the BC Cancer Agency, the board of directors thought, this is a great idea. It could grow even more. So they said, Alan, why don't you buy this business from us? The money will go to support the Terry Fox Lab, and you can grow this business and make it into something much bigger. I actually didn't think it was going to be all that successful, but they were right and I was wrong. But I was a little nervous of getting investors, so I mortgaged my house in Vancouver, which I bought for $90,000. So it was a few years ago. And I got a loan from Western Economic Diversification, and we used that money to build a clean room and set up a company that we called StemCell Technologies. So with 10 staff and sales growing nicely, I basically realized that I didn't know very much about business. So I started to read about business books and did numerous business plans to see how I would grow this thing. And I just want to tell you that if you get into the entrepreneurial spirit and you want to make things happen, there are 2 books that you need to read. One is called The 1 Minute Manager, which is about a 2-hour read, which tells you how to manage people. And the other book is called The E-Myth, which tells you how to set up a small company and make it profitable. So I read those books, but I read about a whole bunch of other books, and I sort of did a sort of do-it-yourself MBA to try to bring myself up to speed, because I was still working in the Terry Fox Lab and in the division of hematology. So this was just an aside thing, this little company that I was starting. I didn't really realize that how important it was going to be. So I also found out that we only had one product, right? And we needed additional products to really give it sustainability. So I licensed in a way of separating cells, different cell populations, by using antibodies to put little particles of iron on specific proteins on the surface of various cell populations, and then putting them under magnetic pull waves like lymphocytes from all the other cells. And a way for, if you want a pure population of lymphocytes for doing AIDS diagnosis and so on, you use our media, or our cell separation technique. So, and the other thing, I licensed in media that was specifically designed for growing human progenitor cells of all types. So we initially focused, of course, on research-use-only products to avoid all the issues of regulatory problems, like getting approval by the FDA and all that. So we were just selling directly to scientists, and they loved our products, and they still love our products. So, but those products are now becoming so good that our medias are in about 20 different clinical trials, and we're moving to make our medias in a GMP facility so they can be used by the approved by the FDA and used for patient treatment. So 25 years later, StemCell is now a global leader in providing research reagents and instruments for the new cellular therapies of gene therapy, regenerative medicine, and tissue engineering. At present, we have over 1,000 employees, a global sales network, and distribution centers in Vancouver, Seattle, Grenoble, France, Singapore, and Beijing. So we're definitely a global company. In Vancouver and Burnaby, we have 850 employees in 4 buildings where we do all our research and our manufacturing, sales, and marketing. But we're going to consolidate all this in Burnaby, where I have just leased for 40 years a 200,000 square foot warehouse on Production Way, in which we're going to build and create our new stem cell campus. So we're going to continue to grow because we anticipate sales will continue at about 15 to 20% per year. And then if that's the case, we will need to hire basically 3,000 more people over the next 12 years. So we're looking forward to help from you and other graduates and graduates yet to come at BCIT to help us do this. Also, to help us and similar companies, we all want to see BCIT expanding its excellent training programs to be more like MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, where there's going to be a huge spectrum of people in terms of instrumentation, computer science, and so on, right up to the PhD level. We need to have people trained in this way in close association with industry to really move the economy forward. So I'm making a pitch that we need to really grow this institution. It's done wonderful things. We want to bring it up to a higher level. And so in conclusion, I want to say that healthcare, in all its complexity, is now the biggest industry in the world, with huge opportunities for further growth. No one wants to die, you may have noticed that, and people everywhere have more money to spend on their health. In Canada, how do we turn our healthcare system from a huge cost center into a revenue generator? Hopefully this will happen by building more companies like StemCell, where 95% of our sales come from outside the country, and those export dollars coming into the country are worth 2 to 3 times more than dollars generated within an economy. It's those export dollars that are so important. And of course, having products that the rest of the world loves and we made here, but they're also used here, how do we expand that to support all of our healthcare system? I occasionally say that we should certainly be the world's leader in incontinent pads, because there's plastic, which comes from oil, and there's fiber, which comes from wood. So, you know, we need to grow all our, that's a joke, no one's laughing. So we should definitely be a leader in incontinent pads, but we should be leaders in all sorts of other areas. Okay, so I just want to make a plug for being an entrepreneur and thinking about how to make all these things happen. So although StemCell was started by exploiting a natural resource called urine, Canada now needs to turn from a resource-based economy to a knowledge-based economy focused on the huge global healthcare industry. So in conclusion, I really want to make a couple of take-home messages that you might be interested in hearing. So I want to say, being truthful to yourself and others is essential for your success. Science and the knowledge-based economy are the future. Your education never ends, so keep reading books, taking courses, and thinking. Health is huge. Let's turn it into a revenue generator for Canada. We want and need BCIT to become the MIT of Canada. Thank you.